Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Deleted. My 16 female twin brother 16 male asked me to hide his weed for him, and when I said no, he hid it in my room without me knowing. My sister 11 female found one big baggie and showed it to our parents, 40s male and female. I'll start off by saying that my twin brother Kyle and I have a really unstable relationship, largely because of our parents. Our parents make us compete with each other over their attention. Some examples: whichever one of us has the higher grades at the end of each month gets $100. Whenever Kyle or I have a sports game on the same day, the whole family will go to the game of the twin that our parents like more at the moment. Depending on how our parents felt about us throughout the year, on Christmas, one of us gets significantly more presents than the other. Our parents also compare us constantly. Whether it's our grades, our choice of friends, or the people we bring home from dates, they always comment on it in a way that favors one twin and ignores the other. They've also felt the need to tell us, at different points in life, which one of us they truly like more. It always changes. I can't say for sure how they truly feel about me or Kyle. Sometimes he and I talk about our shared hurt feelings, and sometimes we fight for hours about them. We've never tried to talk to our parents about their behavior because we don't know how to bring it up, and because they would most likely shoot us down and claim that we were making stuff up. For a long time, my plan has been to just deal with them until I move out. Now to the issue. 3-ish months ago, Kyle asked me if I could do him a favor. I asked him what it was, and he asked me if I could hide his weed for him. I instantly said no. I didn't care how much it was or how long I would be hiding it. My answer was a firm no. He's been smoking weed for about a year now, and I've been covering for him ever since I walked in on him rolling a blunt within the first week that he started smoking. I told him that covering for him for a year at this point was enough of a favor. I don't have a problem with him smoking weed because however he wants to spend his time is up to him, and because I think it should be legalized, but I do have a problem with him trying to get me involved. I told Kyle all of this, but he kept arguing with me. He called me a bitch for not wanting to help him out. I got really angry and almost started yelling at him, but I didn't because my parents would hear us arguing. Instead, I lowered my voice and said, "If you keep asking me to hide it for you, I'm going to tell mom and dad that you smoke weed right now." That shut him up real quick. He apologized and he said he would never ask me again. Then yesterday, my sister Audrey and I were cleaning out our closet. We share a room. When I heard her say, "What's this? It smells weird," I turned around and saw her holding a huge baggie of weed. I don't know how many grams it was, but it must have been a crap ton. That is a lot of grams. I asked, "Where did you find that?" And she pointed to the corner of our closet. Kyle had hidden it inside a box behind a bookshelf that we have in our closet. For a few seconds, I just stood there paralyzed. But then I heard Audrey shoot out, "Mom? Dad?" And I looked up to see her walking out of our room with the baggie in her hands. I freaked the F out and followed her, and I saw her show it to our parents, who blew their tops off as soon as they saw it. When Audrey told them that she found it in our closet, they instantly turned on me, sat me down at the kitchen table, and proceeded to yell at me for an hour straight. They were angrier than I've ever seen them. I didn't get any chance to explain myself. Every time I opened my mouth, they would cut me off without hesitation. When my parents finished yelling at me, they took away my phone and my car keys and told me I would get them back in 6 months. They told me that I am not allowed to leave the house except to go to school or if I'm going somewhere with either of them, for as long as we deem it necessary. In addition, I'll be doing all of Kyle and Audrey's chores for a year. Kyle wasn't home when all of this happened, but when he got home 3 hours later, he saw me sitting at the kitchen table. I was ordered not to move from that spot for the rest of the night and asked me what happened. Before I could say anything, our dad walked in and said, "Don't talk to her. Audrey found weed in their closet." Kyle's eyes got all huge and he said, "Just in the closet?" My dad looked straight at him for a few seconds and then went into my room again. I heard him yanking out dresser drawers, flipping mattresses, etc. A few minutes later, he started yelling again. He came back into the kitchen with 2 smaller baggies of weed. He screamed, "I found one of these under your dresser against the wall and the other one under your sister's mattress." He called my mom in, and after they talked, they decided to expand my phone and car key suspension to a year and my chores punishment to a year and a half. Then they sent me to bed. This morning I woke up and went to school like usual. Kyle has been avoiding me ever since last night, and our parents refused to talk to me. Luckily, they didn't take away my laptop, so I got to post here. So I have 2 questions. What should I do? How should I go about talking to my parents? Should I wait for them to cool off before attempting to say anything? Why did Kyle do what he did? I've been thinking about it for hours at this point. I don't think he hates me. We've had terrible fights in the past, but he's never done anything to get revenge on me, and when we actually get along, he's nice to me. I don't understand why he would do this on purpose. I don't think he's a terrible person with no heart, just an idiotic teenage boy. But I might not be thinking straight because he's my twin. Does anyone have any advice on how to talk to my parents or thoughts on my brother? Yikes. Well, OP, first of all, your parents suck. Their parenting style is gross. But you already know that, so there's no point digging into that cesspool. And about your brother, I think you are absolutely right. He is an idiot. But I think that the worst thing of all is that he's a coward. Being idiotic, sure, you're an idiot. Fine, you're just a burden on the people that know you. And you're mostly unaware that you're an idiot. But in this case, he is aware of everything that happened, and he is choosing to stay silent and let you take the fall for it. Because he knows that if he comes clean, the punishment falls on him. So him not saying anything says a lot about his character. But OP, not all hope is lost. All you need to do is just say 2 words and this will end. The next time you see either of your parents, just say, "Test me." Fortunately, we live in a time where it's incredibly easy to know if somebody has consumed marijuana or not. You don't need CCTV, you don't need a signed confession from your brother, and it doesn't really matter if the weed was found in your closet or in your parents' closet. The test result is all you need to prove your innocence. And OP, as a short PS, don't even think about letting Jiminy Cricket tell you that you shouldn't do that to your brother, because you would in fact be telling the truth, as opposed to him who threw you under the bus. And what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Mitten Bay says, "Your parents are abusive. I disagree with the suggestion to get drug tested, as I am concerned this will have terrible and disproportionate consequences for your brother. Your parents' reaction was so excessive that I can't even imagine what punishment they will come up with for your brother for both possessing weed and lying about it. The only solution to this is to get yourself and hopefully your brother out of your house. It is difficult because you are under 18, but people can and do move out of their parental home as teens under extreme circumstances such as yours. Your brother did mess up bad, but getting your parents involved will only help you temporarily." Cicera says, 1. Take a drug test. 2. Your parents are terrible. I'm sorry that they treat you and your brother like that. Even though ideally Kyle's going to get in a huge amount of trouble, or maybe he won't because your parents' love is conditional and unpredictable. I hope you don't let this unhealthy dynamic ruin your sibling relationship forever. Tidligare says, "Something else entirely. When this is blown over, you and Kyle can work together to undermine the preferential treatment. $100 for the best grades? Share them anyways. Whole family to go to one sports event when both twins are competing on the same day? Before they choose, you both tell them to go to the other's event. Oh mom, I have an event on date, but don't worry, I'll take the bus. You just go to watch Kyle be awesome. No mom, it's totally okay for me if you're not there. I would love for you to see OP instead." Christmas presents? Ask for things you both like or you both can use, then use them together. Also, the twin with loads of gifts can totally sell some of them and use the money for a fun twin day. Cinema, ice cream, whatever. Comments? Comment positively on your twin. OP, I really like your new friend Anna. Such a nice girl. Why can't Kyle be friends with nice people? Oh, I really like Kyle's friends, especially Clara. I'd love to be friends with Clara. Anna thinks she's cool too. And Throwaway Hey 08 says, he says, "I think your brother probably thought your room would be a safe place to hide the stuff. When you said no, he went ahead and did it anyway, which is really crappy. I think you should tell your brother he can come clean to your parents or you will tell them the truth. Offer to take a drug test and suggest to get tested too. The results will be undeniable. The fact that he said, "only the closet," or whatever is incredibly suspicious, and I was surprised your parents didn't blame both of you. Until I remembered they always treat one as good and one as bad. You've already been labeled bad, so they didn't give his weird question a second thought. By the way, what your parents are doing with this good twin, bad twin thing is super crappy. Alright, well, the community gave OP a lot of different suggestions, from getting a drug test, like I think is really a good option, to somebody actually saying that that would be the worst thing that you could do, to somebody giving tips about how to manage the parents. All valid advice. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to recover any of OP's comments, so we have no additional context, which means we move on straight to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on to that update. Hi everyone, thank you for all of your responses to my original post. Here's the update. The day after I originally posted, the first thing I did was talk to Kyle to try to convince him to confess and see if he put his weed in my room on purpose. I wanted to talk to him because I thought he should have a chance to explain himself to me personally. Especially because I really wanted to know if he framed me on purpose. I mean, he's my twin. We've had really bad arguments before, but I could never see him doing what he did on purpose to get revenge on me. A couple of people were wondering why Kyle behaved the way he did when he walked in and saw me sitting at the kitchen table, and I did some thinking about this as well. I think Kyle didn't say anything when he first walked in because he was afraid of my parents' behavior. It was the angriest both of us had ever seen them. They don't lose their temper very often. I can't even remember the last time they yelled at either of us except for this incident. When they make comments to us or punish us, it's always in a normal tone of voice, like it means nothing. In that moment, when Kyle walked in, he saw how pissed they were and probably panicked and didn't want to tell them that it was him because he was terrified of what might happen to him. At the expense of me, yes, but I don't think that was running through his head. At the time, he was already on their bad side because our report cards came home a few days ago and he has a C+ in math. If he said it was him, he would only get in more trouble. I know that his decision not to speak up was really crappy, but given how I know my parents and after considering all of this, I can see why he did it. But just because I can see why he did it, it doesn't mean that I think it was a good thing to do. Also, I wanted to suggest to him that we can handle our parents together. I read some really good detailed responses about this subject. I think I'm going to show them to him. And I thought I'd give him a heads up for a conversation I want to have with him in the future. So I waited for our parents to leave the house and then I called them into my room. I didn't record our conversation because someone said that you shouldn't fight dishonesty with dishonesty. And when I thought about that, I agreed. So this is the paraphrased conversation I had with Kyle. Side note, I'll use two voices to avoid saying I said and he said all the time. I said to him, "Why didn't you listen to me when I told you I wouldn't hide your stuff for you?"
"Look, I'm sorry. I just didn't want mom and dad to find it in my room."
At the risk of them finding it in mine and thinking right away that I smoke, you knew that's what they would do.
"I didn't put it in there on purpose, I swear. I put it in separate baggies because I didn't want my stuff to get taken away all at once. But now I know that I shouldn't have put it in your room and I'm sorry for doing that. I have other places where I've stashed it too, not just your room. I have some in my locker."
If you're telling me the truth, that you didn't do it on purpose, then tell mom and dad that it was your weed and that you smoke.
No way, they'd kill me.
Huh?
I promise that I didn't put it in your room on purpose. And why would I want to put a ton of weed in your room just so you can get in trouble? That stuff cost me a lot. I was saving it so I could sell it.
Well, whatever you want to do with your weed is none of my business, but my room is not the place to hide it. If you did it on purpose, it was crappy. If you didn't do it on purpose, it was still crappy.
I didn't do it on purpose. I swear to God I didn't.
Then tell them it was yours in the next 2 days. There are ways to prove me innocent and to prove you guilty. You need to get what you deserve. Also, this whole thing is over. We need to talk about how we can handle our parents together. I've been thinking about it lately. The sooner you tell them it was you, the sooner we can talk about this. We'll still talk about it if I have to tell them it was you, but I'm going to give you a chance to fix things.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Then I had him leave my room and shut the door. Nothing happened for the next 2 days. Kyle didn't tell them. He was probably too afraid of the punishment he would get. Also, I didn't think my parents would let me talk to them anytime soon. Any conversation that involves the possibility that they may have made the wrong decision is terrible to them, which is why they didn't give me a chance to talk in the first place. One person suggested that I write a letter to them instead, and I thought that was a really good idea. So I did. I wrote, "Dear Mom and Dad, the weed is not mine and I don't smoke. It's Kyle, he smokes and I think he deals. I'm willing to take a drug test to prove my innocence and you should make him do it too. There is a hair follicle drug test that can measure whether or not a person smoked up to 1 year ago. You guys can buy it. There are also panel test strips which are more reliable and will give you instant results. I will gladly take either of these tests. Kyle will resist, however, and that shows you that he's uncomfortable, which means he's guilty. Test both of us. Also, we're tired of you guys making us compete for your attention and constantly comparing us. And we means Kyle and me. We didn't do anything to deserve it. It drives us apart, and it doesn't make me want to have a relationship with you guys when I grow up and become independent. I'm sure Kyle feels the same way. OP. When my mom drove me to school the next day, I left the letter folded up on the passenger seat when I got out of the car. Side note, I would have bought the tests myself because I got the $100 at the end of the month for the higher grades, but because I got in trouble, my parents gave it to Kyle instead, so I didn't have any money. After school on the same day, my parents called Kyle and me into the kitchen and I saw that they had 2 hair follicle drug tests. As soon as Kyle saw them, he bolted. He ran into his bathroom and locked the door. My dad and I followed him. We could hear him crying and the sound of an electric hair shaver. He was shaving his head. My dad can pick locks though, so in a minute or so, the door was unlocked. Kyle stepped out of the bathroom with 60-ish% of his hair shaved off, and he was still crying. I'm not sure if the hair follicle drug test still works with hair that's been shaved off, but there was enough of it left on his head for it to work. My dad took hair from both of us and then sent it to a company that does the results as listed in the instructions that came with the test. The results came back a few days later. They showed that Kyle smokes and that I don't. And that was enough for my parents. They transferred all of my punishments to Kyle. It was like nothing had ever happened to me. The additional thing they tacked on was taking away all of his video games for a year because he was dealing. Then, a few days after the results, Kyle came to talk to me. He said, "Here's the $100 that I got last month for grades," hands me the bill. "I was going to use it for more stuff, but, you know, I shouldn't have stored my weed in your room after you said no." I turned it down and told him to give it back to our parents instead, so he left it on their bed. He hasn't spoken to me since, so I can tell he's angry with me for turning him in, but he didn't confess and I gave him 2 days to do it, so he brought this on himself. Well, that's all I have. I'm beyond pissed at Kyle for what he did, but I'm not going to be pissed at him for the rest of my life. I mean, he's my twin and this is the worst thing he's ever done to me, but I can't find it in my head to think he's a total piece of crap. After the conversation we had, I think he was being honest when he said he didn't put his weed in my room on purpose. I know that I said no to him hiding weed in my room and that maybe he did it to get back at me, but at the same time, he's never been vengeful. Just verbally angry about our parents favoring me sometimes. Maybe he did do it on purpose, but then regretted it after seeing how upset I was and how much trouble I got into. I actually think that it's likely because he tends to make rash decisions and then regrets them later. He can be a huge idiot. I also think he was more afraid of my parents than anything else. But really, it doesn't matter anymore because he got what he deserved. Regardless of whether or not he put weed in my room on purpose, he's now paying the consequences for the original action. He put weed in my room when it wasn't mine. I'm still angry with him because what he did was wrong and I'm glad that he got punished. I'm not defending his actions at all. Also, my parents never responded to the second half of my letter, but I didn't expect them to. Them just knowing about my anger is enough. I have an older brother, Zach, 25 male, who lives 2 hours away from our family, and in the past, he's expressed interest in becoming our legal guardian. At first I told him it wasn't something he had to worry about, but now I'm not so sure. I'm thinking maybe I should look into it. Also, even though our parents treat Audrey really well, I don't feel comfortable with her living in the house with them. Both Kyle and I have a good relationship with her, and mine and his will improve once we're away from our parents. Thank you for all of your advice and suggestions, everyone. Alright, OP, well, I'm gonna call this a happy update. Regardless if Kyle is suffering right now, he deserves it like you said. Actions have consequences and these are his. So good job, OP, on clearing your name and standing up for yourself. And also, you might want to think about your brother Zach. That sounds like a good idea to me. But in the meantime, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Take care and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.